Dan Illman, Mike Beer, taking a look at race number 10 at Oaklawn Park on Rebel Stakes Saturday. This one's for the older horses. Let's throw up a full field for the Razorback Handicap, going a mile and a 16th on the dirt. Our Mary Rampolini reports that Ain't Life Grand, the number 4, 7-2 morning line favorite, expected to scratch and run an allowance race on Sunday. This, Mike, and there are all good betting races, I think, at Oaklawn on Saturday. If you want to try to beat the chalk, this is by far the best betting race.
Yeah, I don't listen. Even with Ain't Life Grand in here as the morning line favorite, I wasn't sure that horse was going to go favored. Although you could certainly make that argument with that horse out. I still have no idea who's going to be the favorite, Dan.
Let's throw up the Timeform US pace projector, at least for some clues as to how this race might be run. Timeform US believes after a half mile, this pace is going to be contested and it's going to be fast. Speed Bias is a very quick horse. Octane the 5 has shown some speed in the past. Promise Keeper has shown some speed. I expect this pace to be competitive.
Yeah, I won't be surprised if it is either. I don't know how fast it's going to be, but it certainly could be competitive up front in this race. Dan, I think, just as far as the pace projector goes, Promise Keeper had the rail last time, and I feel like they really wanted to use that to their advantage. They don't have to go forward with that horse this time, though.
Seize the Night, the number 1, could fall into a good situation if the pace is fast. I thought he ran a little bit better than it looked in the Tinsel. 2 starts back over Muddy Going, sort of in between horses, got outpaced a little bit on the turn, stayed inside and finished up evenly. Last time out got wired by Promise Keeper and might get a better setup here.
Yeah, he certainly ran well last time, too. I mean, the pace was solid. I will say, even though Promise Keeper went wire to wire, it's not like he was walking on the lead. And this horse made a run at him in the late stages and just sort of fell a little bit short. But he ran fine in there, Dan. He's got a better post this time. There could be a good trip coming from him from the rail. I'll wait and see what kind of price he is. He's not the kind of, I think he's okay. I don't think he's the kind of horse I'd be wanting to take, 4, 5, 6 to 1 on in this race.
It was a tale of 2 pace scenarios for the number 2, Frosted Departure. 2 starts back, stretching out. This horse got as loose as he wanted to be on an easy pace and ran away and hid and earned a giant buyer speed figure. Well, that situation was 180 degrees different last time out. He had to go a heck of a lot faster and he ran a heck of a lot worse.
He did. It's also worth noting the pace dynamics obviously played a part. It was also a wet track that he hasn't been great on in the past. It was also a mile and 3/16, which feels like it's really pushing his limits. As easy as he had it on the lead 2 back then, he had 2 handfuls of horse all the way around the track in there. I thought it was a really impressive performance. It doesn't mean I want to bet him back in here, but I wouldn't totally dismiss him either.
And another one of the also-rans from that mile and 3/16 race has come back to do some good things. The horse that ran 8th returned and earned an 89 buyer speed figure when finishing second in a $75,000 optional claimer. Speed Bias is the number 3. Boy, he took one of the worst beats of 2023 in the Pimlico special when he took him down all the way to the wire and just somehow got nailed by Rattle and Roll. Kind of went off form maybe in his last few races, although it could be argued he's better on fast going and he's caught wet in his last 2.
I mean, that's certainly a possibility. I maintain, and I've said this to you a bunch of times, Dan, and maybe it's not correct, but it's still the position I'm taking. The Pimlico special, that day we were there. To me, that Friday was all inside speed, and he was the speed on the rail. And to me, as well as he ran there, he lost that race without any excuse. And I've been against him since then, and he hasn't won since then. He's still run some good races, though.
The 4 is Ain't Life Grand, morning line favorite, expected to scratch according to Mary Rampolini. So we'll move on to the 5, Octane. This is a Florida bred who was odds on in his most recent start, the Sunshine Classic, going a mile and a 16th. He set the pace here. He tried to get away on the second turn, but this Lure Him In made a mid-move and then sustained it all the way down to the short stretch of the wire here. Octane just couldn't hold off Lure Him In, who's a pretty good horse in his own right.
He is. This race, though, at least for me, Dad, it sort of makes me a little concerned that, the longer distances and the 2-turn races, maybe not exactly what Octane wants. Maybe he's a little bit more of a 1-turn mile kind of horse. I feel like his overall form is really solid, and maybe he falls into a trip here, but I kind of feel like this might not be exactly what he wants.
Here's an up-and-comer, the number 6, Midnight Rising, for trainer Jordan Blair. Started his career synthetic, turf. They finally got him on dirt last time out, and it was his best race. He was 15 to 1. Now, it is a wet track, and he was up close to the pace in the short stretch, but he also beat 3 next out winners, Mike, with a solid number.
I mean, he ran really well in here. It's a muddy sealed racetrack, and maybe that has something to do with it. First time on dirt, but man, he kept right up behind what was a really solid pace. He got out to the clear around the turn, and he just easily took that race over and went on with it. I thought he ran really well last time.
Really like the versatility shown by the 7 U.S. Army in his last few races. 3 starts back, coming from off the pace to win. 2 starts back at Remington Park, just going right to the front and making him pay as the favorite. Last time out, he had to work a little bit over a muddy track. He was the beaten favorite by some horses in this race. I think they're going to take him back a little bit this time around. He has to prove he's a graded stakes horse.
He's got a lot to prove in this race for sure. His last 3 races are good. They're all over wet tracks, though, and really the only one that makes him a really strong contender here is 2 starts back at Remington Park, where he just sort of got control of that pace there and went on with it. I wouldn't bet him off of any of his other races.
Magic Tap, the number 8, was 8-1 against the likes of Saudi Crown last year in the Pennsylvania Derby. He didn't run badly at all, chasing the pace and finishing 4th. This is his first start of the year at Oaklawn on January the 13th. He caught a wet track. Steve Asmussen was going to run him a mile and an eighth. He knows this horse likes distance, and he got a very clever ride, splitting horses here, down on the inside, gets it done. You can make the argument this Tapit colt still has upside.
I think he does still have upside. I really liked what he did last year as a 3-year-old, Dan. He got off to maybe a little bit of a late start, but he just kept getting better with all of his races. And obviously distance is what he really wants. I get it. That trip really worked out for him last time, but he was off the layoff. That pace was solid, and he was right up close to it in there. And I really appreciated the way that he staved off those 2 closers at the end of the race.
That was a really nice prep. He's the kind of horse that I had circled for the Oaklawn Handicap for distance. We'll see. Cutting back for the Razorback distance is what he wants, but he might get a nice setup, as will the 9 OP Firecracker, who might be a little bit class compromised. He has to step way up off a 3 life allowance where he was beaten last time out, but give him a fast enough pace. He can come with a kick, and maybe, just maybe, he can spice up your single race exotics.
He's one of the horses that was rallying at Magic Tap last time, and they sort of waited a little bit in there. I felt like when you go back and watch it, then his rider maybe could have got on the move a little bit sooner in there. As it was, he waited until the stretch, and then he came running at the end, and it was a little bit too late. Still a pretty good performance. He's in good form right now.
Fair to say that Promise Keeper was overdue coming into his last race. His prior win came in the Peter Pan back in 2021 in New York. I thought 2 starts back, he looked very uncomfortable in between horses at Remington. They didn't put him in between horses here. They put him right on the front. He looked like the lone speed on paper. You liked him in this race. He is able to sprint on home and beat Seize the Night. And I think this is his preferred running style, so he might have to deal with a little bit more speed this time.
Yeah, we'll see what kind of trip he can work out this time. Again, he had the rail in this race, and they took advantage of it, just sent him and went to the lead. And again, that's not a race that was run at a super slow pace either, Dan. I felt like he had to work a little bit up there, and he was really game to hold on at the end. He can be really inconsistent. He's not the kind of horse that you want to take any kind of really short price on, but anything around that morning line, to me, is very fair for a horse who could easily win right back.
Another horse, and there are several of them in this race that are stepping up in class, have to prove themselves at the graded stakes level, but they're razor sharp and they've earned stakes quality figures. Here's another one, the 11 Notary, winning last time out, a 2nd level allowance at Oaklawn Park. It's a muddy track. You can't win much easier than this. He's down towards the inside. He just draws off.
Yeah, he does win this race really easily. And listen, they claimed this horse for 50 out of back-to-back wins. The second of those with a 91 buyer, but he's won 3 times since then, Dan, and he's got 2 more buyer tops for the new connections. He just runs away from this field in this start, and I really like his running style for this race too.
And the horse that just gets up for second behind him is up next. That's the 12 Escapologist. He just doesn't have a lot of early speed, and maybe a fast pace would work to his advantage. I'm not sure he's the best closer in this race, however, and he might be coming from way out of it.
That was my my concern with him too. I did want to at least give him a little bit of appreciation, because the last 2 starts on muddy sealed tracks, and I don't know if that's really good for him. The last time they ran this horse on fast dirt, it was 9 furlongs. He came with a good run in that race with a 95 buyer speed figure. He has pace in front of him here. He's going to be a price. He could come running at the end.
And he was in against a strong horse in that fast track race in Command Performance. He's just improved since they've switched him back to the dirt. Balzi is the number 13. He's coming off a win in a 2 life allowance, going a mile and a 16th. He got right up close to the pace in this race, and he's striding out very nicely in the lane at 7-1. The problem's twofold. He's stepping way up in class, and this outside post, no bargain.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Off of the best race of his life here, he's got post 13, moving up in class to face some really good horses, Dan. It feels like a tall order for this horse, who did run really well in the race we're watching.
Let's take a look at our top selections for the Razorback Handicap. You're going with Magic Tap. I can certainly understand that pick because, again, just a horse that showed some promise last year and might be reaching full maturity. Nice price on the morning line. The scratch hurts things. You take 4-1, though, right?
Yeah, we'll see what kind of price it goes off of. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't want to go too short on him because it's pretty clear he's got to improve. But I just feel like there's all potential here, and that's not the case with any of the other horses that he's facing in here. I really like his running style, Dan, and I feel like there's a chance he just moves forward in this race. And if he does, this is a good spot
I
for him.
think the one sees the Knights a little bit interesting if he drifts somewhat off that morning line. I think a trip's coming for him. I've always been a fan of Octane. I think your point's very well taken. This extra distance could work against him, especially if the pace is hot. I don't think he needs the lead, though, and I think he's going to
Yeah.
tuck in third or fourth under a patient ride from Julian Leparoux. 8, 10, 12, and 6 for Mike, 5, 10, 1, and 13 for me. And the Razorback, it's a super card on Rebel Saturday at Oaklawn. Best of luck.